Hello, everybody. Welcome to November 12th Trips and Traps. Andy Serling, Richard Migliore from the Aqueduct Studio.
Now we're going to start looking at some different kind of trips because 7/8 turf course here at Aqueduct and not those wide sweeping turns of Belmont Park on the dirt as well.
I think that's a very good point because I think that these races could have been run a lot differently. They've been at Belmont Park where there's often much more room and time to get out. And we're going to start out with a maiden race for New York breds, actually. This was the last race, I think, race number 8 on November 5th. And we're going to look at a horse, the 8, Harlans Humor, that both Richie and I thought had some trouble.
Yeah, he's compromised at the break, and you know, Junior Alvarado, his rider, kind of came out a little bit on his mouth, and then he got squeezed back a little bit more. And I kind of like this horse going into the race, Andy, and there was nothing that I saw from the horse that didn't make me like him coming out of it. I think this is a horse that when he puts it all together is going to surprise at probably a big price.
I agree. Now, he's towards the back at this point, and there's one horse inside of him. That horse inside of him is going to carry him out badly. And I want you, Richie, to talk about what this does to a horse and rider because he completely loses all position that he had. And his position wasn't that good going into it. What happens at this point?
Well, I mean, what happened to him on the first turn was a function of not getting your position going forward out of the gate. He should have been in front of that horse to begin with. The fact that he wasn't, now he gets carried out about 8 wide, maybe more. And mentally, from a rider's perspective, you go, I got no shot now. I'm last, I'm wide, I've got to just work to get back into the race. And he did a good job of doing that. And I thought, had run, Andy, he's taking him into position now, although he took the worst of it the first half a mile.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is he has to work so much harder to get that position that he's already used up energy that he needed to use to try to win the race. And we're not talking about world beaters. We're talking about young horses. He's a second-time starter. And like you, Richie, I believe this horse has ability. And I think we saw some of his ability in some spots during this race. But through no fault of his own early and the bad position early, he never had a fair chance to run.
No, and I think what you said is key there. He ran somewhat spotty. I mean, here he had to steady a little bit. It looks like he's trying to get outside. Well, now another horse has first run on him. He's got to go back inside. He never has true daylight. And the horse looks a bit tentative where he's running with the emergency brake on, so to speak. I think this is a horse that could improve, A, with racing, B, potentially with blinkers, and C, and maybe most importantly, a little more aggressive handling early in the race.
Yeah, I think he needs to be aggressively taken in the race so he gets better position and he doesn't have to make up all that ground. We'll see what happens and we'll see if he gets one more chance in the turf, hopefully as a New York bred, before the turf season ends up here, or if we have to wait till the spring for him. But we can wait.
Well, we're gonna mark the name down because this is a horse I think is going to be worth following as we go forward.
I completely agree. The next race we're looking at, a very similar situation with New York State breds. These are maidens, and this was a situation where there was a lot of pace on paper, and the 7 Regaza de Papa and the 9 BB were both compromised by the fact that pace never developed. Now, BB was going for position, the gray, earlier. The 7 horse, who I'm kind of obscuring with his kind of magenta silks, this was something I talked to his trainer, Jeremiah Engelhardt, about, and he was very open. He was very open about it. He said he blew it. He said Jose wanted to get position early, and he told him there's a lot of speed. Take him back, and it turned out when the 10 didn't go aggressively, they went slowly, and he was in trouble from the start.
And once you come out of the gate with that intention, now you've got to play that hand that's dealt you because you have no place to go. You're not going to swing out and make the race speed up while you're wide, obviously, especially these tight turns. And now you've got to sit in behind horses and hope you can work out a trip. And it's such a hard thing, and I'm glad that Jeremiah brought it up, that when you're overcoached as a jockey, you don't want to leave the gate with too much of a preconceived notion, Andy, because how many times guys look at the form and go, there's a ton of speed in here, and everybody comes out looking at each other, and they wind up walking.
I agree, and that's why, and they switched positions, and you pointed this out when we were preparing for the show. The 9 has actually gotten inside of the 7, who's now found himself 3 wide, at least the 9 saving some ground. And that's why we like to talk about getting your position going forward. And this is something that you have said to me. I mean, I was saying it before you were working with us because you've been saying it to me for 20 years, Richie. If you get your position going forward, you're not going to be victimized by pace. And if they go fast up front, you're not going to get sucked into the vortex. You're going to get your position behind them.
Well, and a horse is very easy to rate, even if you've come out of the gate running, when they go fast. And you know if your horse isn't keeping up, okay, they're going quick. Put my hands down. Now, it's interesting to me because I felt like these two horses wound up kind of getting in each other's way a bit here. The horse in the pink with Jose Ortiz, Regaza de Papa, is going to have to come out and lose his ground. But Joel Rosario on BB, he looks to come out as well, but now that horse is outside of him, shadowing him. These horses were beaten just about a length for everything, maybe a little over a length. And I think between the wide trip for the one horse and the fact that B.A.B. didn't have a clear path and kind of had to run tentatively through the stretch, you can make a case that both of them could have won with different trips.
There's an argument they could have been won too, as it turned out, if there was more pace in there. Now, the winner's okay because it was wide there, but that was a ride where Carino Velasquez was not an aggressive rider. Was riding a horse that had gone too fast early, and in this case, he rated her, and it ended up working out because the slow pace kept the field together, and the fact that Ella Weasel had horse kind of kept them all in, and it made it very difficult for the closers to be effective.
Well, when they go slow, it's easy to keep horses kind of bottled up because they're in much more control. They don't kind of weaken and start to drift. I mean, these horses, and they're New York bred maiden 2-year-olds, came home in 24 seconds. That's running. I mean,
on this course.
On this course. You're not going to see many 2-year-old New York birds or 2-year-olds of any kind, you know, on this course come home much faster than that.
No, I think that was a decent field. And I think it's also important what you brought up about the gray horse in there with Joel. Being outside and in the clear, and we're going to see this in another race we're going to show, we saw it already with the first race, is a much easier position than being among horses, especially young horses. It's very hard to get your momentum going when you're in the middle of a herd.
Well, and especially because most of them have never been in that position. They may work in company in the mornings, but not with that much company.
Yeah, these were interesting races, and they're good educational races for the horses and for us as well. Now, we're going to go back to the dirt for one race, and we're going to look at, I believe, the first race on Sunday, November 8th, and a horse, Congrats Kid, who was claimed out of this race by Linda Rice, that, frankly, did not get a good ride.
The rider needed to make a decision at a few different points, and he never made any sort of decision. And when you don't make decisions, situations are handed to you, you become a victim. And he is completely victimized. The horse has run here, Andy. He's got in the bridle. Now, you got to make a decision right now. Am I going to go forward to get inside the 3-horse and hold my ground, or am I going to back out and wait? He doesn't do either. He just lingers in basically no man's land, and you're going to see when he pays the price.
Well, the other thing that we talk about is what's going to happen, that you know is going to happen, is he's going to get his nose in there at the break of the turn, and the 3's going to come over a little bit, and you're going to see it right here, completely takes him out of the race. He's already got bad position to be in. He's got it in it once, and it happens twice, and you know, you talk about this, Richie, you have to know who you're dealing with. There's a 10-pound bug rider on the 3.
Yes.
You've got to know the worst thing I can do is get caught inside that guy when they break on the turn.
So what you have to do is either be aggressive and get all the way in there so that you have your position, or back out enough where you can give yourself another option to come outside. He did neither. He stayed where he was hooked on that horse's heels. He kind of got sucked into that spot, and then he got shut off. And he really, honestly, has nobody to blame but himself. And I'm going to show you the point when we watch this other angle, when he needed to put his head down and commit to going forward. You can't be a little bit pregnant. You have to go forward. Right now, he has room. Ride that horse into there quickly. Get the spot. And when you hesitate, that moment is gone, and now where do you wind up? You wind up checking back to last. And this horse came running again to dead heat for 4th. Now, I don't know if this horse could have won the race, but I think this horse would have been maybe 2nd, maybe right there. I mean, he had a lot of run.
I totally agree with you. Now, that was a very good claim by Linda Rice, and is going to get a better trip in his next start. And in my opinion, Congrats Kid, in any kind of similar field, and maybe even a tougher field, he's going to win his next start. This is a horse that never had a chance the way the race was run.
Not the way the race was run. And again, you reach a certain point in a race where you have to commit. He never committed to anything.
Well, right. If you don't commit, you just become a victim, and that's exactly what happened here, especially when you're on the inside. One more race to show you, and this is the 9th race from Sunday the 8th. And we're going to talk about a couple of horses, the 2 Energy Policy, the favorite, and the 5 Our Way. Our Way, Kendrick Carmouche did an awful lot of things right, and he just got unlucky. And Energy Policy got unlucky because I guess he almost went over the rail in this situation, and he got in the way of Our Way.
Yeah, and Our Way got kind of squeezed a little bit out of that little chute, you know, the 2-year-olds, and he backed up. Now he's going to drop in. It's important, and you're going to circle it again, I'm sure, Energy Policy. We've got to keep an eye, and he gets in a little bit close. Now, he always had room, but he overreacts like some young horses will, and he shies from the outside pressure. When he gets close to the rail, he starts jumping. Very fortunate that he didn't try to make the fence, because when they get to jumping like that, they lose control. Sometimes they will crash through the fence, and you could see right there where Kendrick Carmouche had to take up, because that horse is coming back in his face. You can't predict if he's going to go through the fence or completely prop. and he wound up having to lose his position and come out. Did a great job getting back into that position, though.
I totally agree. The more I watched this race, the more impressed I was with Kendrick's ride. He got very unlucky. The other thing that's bad for him was, I think he knew exactly what he was doing early. The 2's the favorite. He's following Irad, who's on the favorite in this race. What could be a better position for a closer in a turf race like this? They're going relatively quickly up front, and he's following the favorite. That's the right position to be in. How is he supposed to know that all that goofiness is going to happen? Now he gets inside of him, and I think, Richie, as we progress through the race, we're going to see this another example of what we've talked about, and here's both of them, where the 5 is in that position among horses where he never is able to get his momentum going.
Yeah, and he just doesn't have daylight in front of him. He's always kind of, running with a moving block in front of him. And young horses, especially, when they see daylight, they run better. But I think he did everything right. He realized that Irad's not going back down to the fence with energy policy after the move he pulled in the stretch. So I don't want to commit to going around him. And frankly, he's looking for live cover. This is like, think about harness racing, looking for live cover. And he looks up, well, there's another Chad Brown horse. Let me swing back out and kind of follow his
lead. And
lead.
he wants to follow him here, but the 13 blind switches him at that point.
Well, exactly, because he's got first run on him. He's been outside. I thought, though, he was unlucky. This is a case where, we talk about making decisions. I think Kendrick made a lot of right decisions. He got a bit unlucky in a few spots. But you're going to win more turf races riding like that, then you're going to lose.
Yeah, I think if the 2 doesn't do that early, it's a totally different situation. He's always in better position. Now, let me ask you about the 2 energy policy. In a situation like that, because he didn't run well at all, he finished 11th in here, do you think that what happened early mentally took him out of the race?
I don't. I really think that he was just empty on the day. I know, people say, well, you can't really quantify how much that takes out of them. Most 2-year-olds rebound from things. I've seen 2-year-olds clip heels, stumble, they get up and they keep running. Right. He just looked like, for whatever reason, he was very flat on the day.
Yeah, seems like the case. We'll see what happens when he comes back. But our way, we'll see also, because that horse has some talent, for trainer Jimmy Bond. We can always use your help on Trips and Traps. The email address is tripsandtraps@NYRAinc.com.